as a person of colour, I'd say 99% of the people in my, again, I think, and I always emphasise it, in my sphere of where I lived and worked, it's really a microcosm of the wider Air Force where there were issues and I knew there were issues, but I didn't live in that sphere and I didn't work in that sphere. But the people that I worked with, mainly the aircrew guys on my squadrons, were, I'd say, sometimes overly protective of me, overly protective. They knew that I was the black guy when we went abroad. We go to a German base or American base. They knew that, and they would make sure that nothing ever reached me, if there was anything. And and it became a bit ridiculous because I kind of always say, guys, just chill out, man. It's what it is. Let people do their thing. People got a view. I like to hear it. I like to have a discussion and chat about what's going on. But they protected me more than probably I knew. So there may be more incidents than I can sit here and honestly go I ever saw, because they were like your picket ships doing their bits, because they felt, for whatever reason, because it's one of us. You're a family. You're going to fly and die with me. Don't matter what colour you are. If we get shot down together and die, we're going to die together. If we go into that sea together, we're going to. Because that's the life you live. It's not about just being in the Air Force together. Chances are you may die together. And your family's going to be at the same grave mourning you together. A number of Sunday dinners and birthdays and birthing parties I went to as a single bloke, just because I was on the squadron, come around on Sunday because things cooking dinner, something's birthday, you'd go around there because even though you didn't have a family, you became part of their family. And that was much wider than I imagined it to be. So I think for me, the Air Force was everything I wanted it to be. There are sacrifices, and I've said this to some of my friends, you have to give up a lot to join the Air Force, We've joked about it in terms of, music and food. We're Caribbeans with Caribbean heritage. We love our food. We love our music. Music and food is the soul. You go to summer ball and you're listening to some terrible music. You're eating some very nice food, but there's nothing that you necessarily would want on your plate. But it's the culture of the Air Force. That's what the Air Force is. The Air Force is a culture. Parties and balls are sat around. They try and relive what happened, 30, 40, 50 years ago in their summer balls, but slightly upmarketed it. But so you still have the champagne fountains, all the glasses, because that's what they did 70 years ago. The fact that people don't drink champagne now is irrelevant. It's Prosecco in there because we can't afford it. It's irrelevant. But they try and maintain some of those traditions. And the music, they try and maintain the tradition rather than going in and having drum and bass and dropping some garage. They just don't do that. It's kind of set the scene of what it is. So it's culturally relevant to what the Air Force is, but it may not be culturally relevant to any individual in there. And for the Caribbean, it definitely wasn't culturally relevant to me, but I enjoyed it because it was what it was. That's what that statue was. It was a statue of the Air Force, not a statue of me or anyone in that room, with that Scotsman or the Irishman. It wasn't about us. It was about the Air Force. It represented the Air Force as a entity rather than the people in the Air Force.